Well, let's get more reaction now, and we speak to the head of Energy Secretariat at the South African National Energy Development Institute. That's Professor Sampson Mamphweli. Talks to us from Cape Town this morning. Prof, good morning to you. Let's start with the observations that have been made. We've just listened to Dr. Mosibudi Mangena there. He says Mr. Ramokgopa possesses the right qualifications for the job. Your thoughts?
Yeah, good morning to you, Toli, and the viewers. Yes, I agree with Mr. Mangena there in terms of the right qualifications. Dr. Ramokgopa is a civil engineer. He has been involved with the South African Infrastructure SA for quite some time, so he understands the infrastructure part of things. He's not an electrical engineer, so he may not necessarily understand the electrical part of things, but technically he should be able to understand the jargon that's used in the sector. So based on that, I think he was basically appointed on merit and not on political proximity or anything like that. So what we will want to see now is how is he going to do the work going forward. A lot of work has been done, by the way, from July last year when the president announced his plan. What Dr. Ramokgopa needs to do is to leverage on the technical capabilities of the various teams that have been working under the Energy Crisis Committee, and also on the technical capabilities of people at Eskom to augment his own knowledge and experience.
Prof, the president used the words that he is going to confer certain powers to the Minister of Electricity, because the sole aim here is to drastically reduce load shedding. But he used a key word. Someone I listened to this morning, an expert just like yourself, said the key word that the president used around this appointment is coordination. However, it must not be coordination that seeks to micromanage the politics, but coordination of policy work. What is your understanding of what exactly he is going to be doing?
So initially, there was work that has been done under NECOM, the Energy Crisis Committee, in terms of planning. Minister Gordhan has already coordinated a process at Eskom through the Eskom board that led to the identification of the root cause analysis of the various power stations that are giving problems. They have identified 6 power stations. There are plans that have been put in place. Those plans are not necessarily complete. I'm privy to some of the plans that are in place. So, and on the other hand, Minister Mantashe has been bringing in a new generation capacity in terms of procurement through the ministerial determination on the IRP side. So what the electricity minister needs to do, in my view, first, is to firm up the plan to fix the...
Oh no. Professor Mampueli, are you still there? Okay. I think that picture, frozen, as we can all tell. Hopefully he is going to be back with us, because there's still a lot more road we need to travel with Professor Mampueli. He was coming on very nicely, explaining what this is about exactly, but more importantly, how Kgosientsho Ramokgopa is going to navigate this space to ultimately stop load shedding. And so we've got to get Professor Mampueli back, and we'll try and do that. In the meantime, let's bring you this story. Suspended Wits University's SRC president says he's seeking legal advice and will respond in due course. Apiwe Mnyamana was suspended with immediate effect yesterday after he failed to appear before a suspension hearing. The university says he was given ample time to make representations. Mnyamana is accused of infringing on the rights of others, damage to property and intimidation. This comes amid the ongoing protest by Wits University students against financial exclusion and the accommodation cap. AmaZulu King, Misuzulu Gazweltini, will preside over the opening of the KwaZulu-Natal House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders in Ulundi today. The provincial government says the opening of the house is a significant moment in the province's yearly calendar and will be attended by the Premier, Nomusa Dube-Ncube. The King is expected to address the house and give direction on pertinent issues affecting Amakhosi and the communities they lead. All right, the team has done us proud. We're going to take you swiftly back to Professor Sampson Mamphweli. And Prof, you got cut off just as you were explaining that Mr. Ramokgopa is going to have to work with speed. But let's try and speed this conversation up. Give us just almost in bullet points what it is that he needs to do in order to achieve the job of reducing load shedding.
So he needs to first and foremost finalize the plan to deal with the 6 power stations. And in finalizing that plan, he needs to look at the root cause analysis. He needs to then develop the activities towards solving the problems and the milestones. And he needs to then develop a project timeline and firm up the budget. At the moment, we know that Eskom needs about 120 to 150 billion rands to fix those power stations. He needs to prioritize that and bring those power stations back from about 45 to 49% energy availability factor to about 75% energy availability factor.
Prof, let me stop you there for a moment. Let me stop you there for a moment, because plant performance is what is key to reducing load shedding almost immediately. What needs to be done with these plants, and what is it that Kgosientsho Ramokgopa is going to do different to what has been done already?
So the 6 power stations basically need renewal of the various components and various units. So those units, so what is happening at the moment is that when a unit breaks down, Eskom takes it down for maintenance. They fix that particular part that is broken down. And when they return it to service, within 24 to 48 hours, the same unit can still break down because this unit needs a renewal. So he needs to look at the root cause analysis that has been done and work on a renewal program before we start talking about reliability maintenance or regular maintenance of these power stations. And then that reliability maintenance, that renewal program will then result in units being renewed and then taken back, and then we can have reliability. And to do that, he needs to work with the original equipment manufacturers. The state of disaster has been declared. That allows him, and I like the fact that the president is giving him executive powers. So that allows him to bring in original equipment manufacturers quickly, have these teams on site 24/7, and pay them to basically work on the renewal of these systems instead of waiting for them to break down and fixing particular parts that have broken down. Yeah. Because that is not going to help us going forward. And once he's done with that plan, he can stand up and tell us when is load shedding going to end in reality, and he can go down to a second if he does proper planning.
Very interesting indeed. Let me pick up on the executive powers that the president is going to confer on him, because the president uses the words, there has been the challenge of fragmentation of responsibility across various departments. I think the president was careful to go to the actual departments that Eskom ought to have relied on in order to help it navigate this space, and that's mineral resources and energy, including DPE. So the assumption here, Prof, and you'll help clarify, is the assumption that with these executive powers, Kgosientsho Ramokgopa can basically be the super minister above Gwede Mantashe and Pravin Gordhan, who is going to cut to the chase and get us this procurement of new generation, because That has been the biggest criticism, particularly on the side of Minister Mantashe.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's going to be a super minister and be above them. I would say he's going to work very closely with them. But with him focusing specifically on the energy crisis. That's why, at some point we were describing him as a project manager. And if he follows the process that I've described, it will basically reduce him to someone who is a project manager looking after doing basically the coordination work and political oversight on the energy crisis itself. As things stand, and I agree with the president, there's been fragmentation. The Minister of Mineral Resources has been bringing in new generation capacity. Minister Gordhan has been working closely with ESCOM on the other side. The National Planning has been working with the Energy Crisis Committee. So everything was all over the show. That's why there's been a lot of delays in the implementation of the president's plan. Now, you have now a ministry or a minister who is now going to be a one-stop shop, who is going to consolidate all these plans and consolidate everything, working with the various departments that are involved together with ESCOM, consolidate the plans and then bring one plan before the president and say, this is what we are doing going forward, and these are the activities, these are the milestones that we will reach. And this is how we're going to inform the nation going forward. He should, in my view, have bi-weekly family meetings, as they come to be known, and inform the nation what is happening. Because in the past, we have NICOM. People don't even know what the Energy Crisis Committee is doing. People don't know what the ESCOM board has done with Minister Pravin Gordhan. All they see is the situation worsening. And we go to a level where a crisis had to be declared because of this fragmentation and the delays in the implementation of the plan. For instance, the president's plan should have been capitalized 3 months after this announcement. Mm-hmm. Now they've declared the national state of disaster, and we're still working as if it's business as usual. The president delayed in bringing in the Minister of Electricity, in my view, and the Minister of Electricity needs to hit the ground running. He shouldn't sleep until we see the lights.
Okay. Final question, Prof. If all goes according to plan, do you think the minister, as you suggest, with these family meetings that he hopefully will call, might he tell us by the end of this year that load shedding might be significantly reduced? Because I don't want to give myself the false impression that load shedding will be done away with by the end of the year, which is what Mantashe has suggested, by the way. But let's give ourselves the latitude that I think they said 24 months, if I'm not lying. That includes the ESCOM leadership. But let's talk about this significant reduction in load shedding. Can that be achieved by the end of the year? Yes,
that can be achieved by the end of the year. And I've seen the plans. They need to be refined here and there. It all boils down to planning. And the biggest issue for me is, where is the 130 billion or 250 billion rand going to come from? Once the Minister of Electricity cracks that and get the money, and then he then can be able to bring in resources through the state of disaster that has been declared, go into all the universities and science councils, everywhere where there are resources, that human resources that can help, bring them on board and let them assist with the fixing of these 6 power stations. Once that is done, by the end of the year, load shedding could be significantly reduced. I don't think within a six month period. I think within a 10-month period, because we're talking about renewal. If it brings in the original equipment manufacturers and brings in human capacity from various SOEs, universities and science councils, put together a very strong technical team and have on-site a maintenance team consisting of ESCOM people and original equipment manufacturers, and have the budget, load shedding is going to be reduced significantly by the end of the year, and within the next 18 months or so, it will be the thing of the past. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Energy expert, Professor Samson Mamphweli. Let's hope that everything goes according to plan. I hate load shedding.